Welcome to my channel, C.S. Lewis Spirit. In today's video, we step into a story that has echoed through time. A story whispered in ancient texts, painted across the skies, and carried in the hearts of millions. It is the story of a moment when heaven itself trembled, when angels stood in awe, demons rose in defiance, and one being dared to challenge the very throne of God. The title of this story is simple yet terrifying: When Angels and Demons Battled, and Lucifer Challenged God. Now imagine for a moment the silence before the storm. The heavens were once filled with harmony, every star blazing in perfect rhythm, every angel's voice joining in a single song of worship. There was no fear, no shadow, no thought of rebellion. It was a kingdom of light, and in the center of it all, the throne of God radiated with endless power and love. But somewhere in that perfection, a thought began to grow. A spark of pride, a whisper of ambition, a dangerous desire that did not belong in a place of pure light. That thought belonged to one of the brightest and most gifted beings ever created, Lucifer. He was not ordinary. He was radiant, his beauty unmatched, his voice like music itself. Many angels looked at him with awe, believing he was second only to God in greatness. But inside his heart, the seed of pride began to bloom. He looked upon his own brilliance and wondered why he should bow forever. He began to ask himself questions no one had ever dared to speak. Why must all glory go to God? Why not me? And so began the story of the greatest conflict the universe had ever seen. Lucifer, the shining one, slowly turned his brilliance into darkness. With soft words and convincing charm, he began to whisper among the angels, planting doubts, raising questions, stirring rebellion. "If you follow me," he promised, "you will rise higher, you will be free, you will share in my throne." Many listened. Some hesitated, and others stood firm in loyalty to God, refusing to turn their gaze away from the eternal light. The tension in heaven grew. The sound of worship began to waver. Angels who once sang with one voice were divided, some standing in awe of God's throne, others secretly drawn to Lucifer's bold promise of power. It was no longer just a kingdom of harmony, it was a kingdom on the edge of war. And then, it happened. Lucifer rose up, no longer hiding his ambition. Before the throne of God, in the midst of countless angels, he declared his challenge. He would no longer bow. He would ascend. He would raise his throne above the stars, above every angel, above heaven itself. It was the ultimate act of defiance, the moment when creation itself seemed to hold its breath. But heaven does not remain silent in the face of rebellion. The archangels, led by the mighty Michael, stepped forward. What followed was not just a disagreement. It was the beginning of a battle that shook the very foundations of heaven. Angel against angel, light against shadow, loyalty against pride. And at the center of it all stood Lucifer, daring to confront the Almighty. What happened next would change eternity, and its echo would reach even into our world today. But here's the question: could Lucifer truly stand against God? Could the greatest created being challenge the Creator? And if he fell, what would happen to those who followed him into the darkness? This is where the battle begins. And the story has only just started. The heavens trembled as whispers spread like fire among the ranks of angels. Some looked at Lucifer with unease, questioning how one so radiant, one who had once led them in songs of worship, could now stand in open defiance. Yet others felt drawn to his words, believing his promises of freedom and power. This division became a wound in the heart of heaven, a fracture that could no longer be ignored. For the first time in eternity, loyalty was tested. Would the angels cling to the throne of God, or would they follow the one who dared to promise a new kingdom of his own? Michael, the archangel known for his strength and unshakable devotion, watched closely. He saw friends hesitate, voices once pure now filled with doubt. The beauty of heaven's song was breaking apart, replaced by tension and fear. Yet Michael's resolve grew stronger, for he knew this was no ordinary dispute. It was the very soul of creation at stake. To side with Lucifer was not just rebellion against God, it was to break the order of existence itself. But Lucifer's influence was powerful. His voice was honey, his promises like chains wrapped in gold. Many angels, once loyal, began to step into his shadow. Meanwhile, a quiet struggle unfolded within the hearts of those caught in between. Some were torn, unwilling to abandon God, yet afraid to face the anger of Lucifer and his growing legion. The battlefield was not only in the skies. It was in the conscience of every angel, in the silence of their thoughts, in the weight of their choices. And as the numbers swayed, the tension tightened. The heavens were preparing for a battle that would decide more than who ruled. It would decide the very meaning of loyalty, light, and eternity. The skies darkened with a silence so heavy that even the stars seemed to hold their breath. The armies of heaven stood divided, wings stretched wide, their eyes locked on one another. On one side, the angels who remained faithful to God, their light burning steady, their faces set with determination. On the other, the followers of Lucifer, their brilliance now shadowed, their voices carrying the echo of rebellion. The air was thick with tension, every moment pressing closer to an explosion that could no longer be held back. Lucifer stepped forward, his presence commanding, his eyes glowing with a fire that was both beautiful and terrifying. His voice rang through the heavens, sharp and certain, claiming his throne above the stars, declaring that no longer would he bow. Around him, the angels he had persuaded lifted their voices, crying out with defiance, their wings beating in rhythm like a war drum. The sound shook the very foundations of heaven, a roar of pride that seemed to challenge eternity itself. Michael did not flinch. He moved forward with a calm strength, his gaze never leaving Lucifer. Behind him, the loyal angels readied themselves, their light intensifying as if to push back the darkness rising before them. Each heart pounded with the weight of what was about to unfold. This was not just a conflict of voices, it was a battle of wills, and the very order of creation was on the line. Every angel knew that once the first blow was struck, there would be no turning back. Eternity itself would be marked by what was about to happen. The heavens shook, the armies stood poised, and in that final heartbeat before the clash, all creation waited for the first spark of war. Just as the heavens stood on the edge of war, a new and unexpected twist unfolded. From the ranks of the loyal angels, a murmur spread, faint at first but growing louder, as some who had once stood firm now faltered. The tension of the moment was too great, the fear too heavy. Lucifer's promises echoed in their minds: freedom, glory, a chance to rise above their place. Slowly, a handful stepped back, their wings trembling, torn between loyalty and desire. The armies that once seemed clear now blurred, the line between light and shadow twisting into something far more dangerous.